Terraria's Calamity Mod is known to be one of the biggest mods ever, with over 27 new bosses, thousands of new items, and 2 new difficulties called Revengeance and Death Mode, where I'll be spending the next 100 days in Revengeance Mode, as I never played modded Terraria before. But a lot happens in these 100 days alone, with plenty of ups and downs, which was honestly a journey to get through. But you're just gonna have to wait and see how that unfolds. So without further ado, let's just jump into this, shall we? Well, first I just wanna mention few things before starting, which being Calamity is the only major mod I use, along with some quality of life mods for the sake of convenience. And I also have this day counter mod which starts counting from day 0 instead of 1. But I would just say ignore it, cause there'll be a day counter edited in instead starting from day 1 till the end of 100. And that's about it. So I hope you enjoy this video and have a nice day. Alright, so on day 1, I opened my loot bag, enabled the Revengeance Mode, and then chopped down trees like everybody else does. Right after that, I made quick shelter, and then I decided to explore the left side of my world, where I found a blowpipe and an umbrella in their respective chests. After looting those chests, I decided to go mining for ores and stuff for the rest of the day. And then I found my first life crystal, which I never saw somehow, so I just left it there. And then I had my first death of many in this mod, so yeah. Once I spawned back, I just made a new sword and a set of tin armor. And then I just went to explore the left side of the world again. This time I went further into the corruption biome though. And then I died from the pet. And right after spawning back, I decided to explore the right side this time. And I managed to find a sinkhole, which I didn't bother exploring it yet. And finally I found my first Calamity enemies. And after more exploration, I decided to explore this other cave I found, where I actually managed to find Hermes boots, band of regen, and a magic mirror. And then after exploring the cave a bit more, I just died again. After that, I just made a grappling hook. Oh, and then a pig just decided to show up to my house. And this guy got like 2000 HP, but at least he's pretty cute though. So in the snow biome, I managed to stumble upon a house which didn't have anything that important. But then after killing this enemy called the Rime Hound, it dropped an item called the Tundra Ball, which spawns this cool pet, so that's pretty neat. After exploring the left side for a while, I finally reached the Sulphurous Sea, which is one of the new biomes that the Calamity mod adds. So you can't swim in the water for too long, or else this meter fills up and you would take damage from that. Now I decided to go to the jungle biome, and after killing this enemy, I got a wolf from Helipad, which is kinda like wings, but like you can barely fly. But look, we're just getting started, so it's fine. Then I finally reached the ocean biome, and literally get one shot right away. Well, as I explore the left and the right side, I decided to dig down now. But I eventually managed to reach the mushroom biome, and then I finally managed to find 3 life crystals this time. After that embarrassing death, I decided to use a gravitation potion to explore these new orbits in the sky, and there was an arsenal lab above me, which I decided to explore it later, but it will be important later on. I actually managed to find an enchanted sword in one of these orbits, which I didn't expect to even find out here, but hey, I ain't complaining. After going back home, I decided to work on expanding the house a bit for now. Then I decided to craft this wolf from Treasure Pinger, which lets you detect ores around you, and a wolf from Controller, which is a summoner weapon. Now I decided to explore that sinkhole to work on getting the crafting materials for the desert medallion. And after finding the golfer NPC, I found a chest that already had the medallion in it, so that saved me some time at least. After getting this new shield-like accessory, I decided to go mine for ores and life crystals so that I can get prepared for the boss. So I just mined a lot of ore. And I even managed to get 400 HP as well. Then I just made a full set of gold armor, and I decided to work on the boss arena after that. And then I went back home again because I forgot to make a gold bow. And on day 8, I spawned the first boss. And I managed to kill it on my first attempt. But I can't lie though, I definitely did feel like I over-prepared for the fight, as I wasn't even getting close to dying. But then I don't really know how difficult this mod is gonna get. But then again, this is only the first boss still, so who knows what's coming. Well anyhow, I got this lore item from the boss, which you can pause and read it if you wanna. Well, after that, I decided to go to a demon altar to make myself a suspicious looking eye, cause I plan to fight the Eye of Cthulhu the very next night. And after that, I decided to do the boss again to gather more resources. Well, remember how I just said that I think I got over-prepared for this fight? Well, let's just say that I got a bit overconfident with this attempt. Moving on, I decided to work on the magic storage mod, which is a mod that works like a gigantic mega chest. So everything can be stored in this one place, which is just so convenient. Like whoever made this mod, bro, I don't think I would ever be able to go back to regular chests now. It's just honestly too good of a mod. As I hit night time, I decided to head towards the arena, and then I get the message that an evil presence is watching you, which means a boss is about to spawn, so I quickly went back to the arena, and then the Eye of Cthulhu spawned. Okay, so I do want to mention some things about this fight, as there are actually some differences in Revengeance Mode. One of them being the fact that bro literally gets into his second phase now and I only got a third of his head low. And another thing being the fact that he now dashes at you straightforward after aligning himself to you, which does make this kinda harder. But those are the main differences I noticed in this fight at least. And that's all there is to it. I mean, apart from those changes, it is still the same boss, so yeah. And here's a lore item I got from the Cthulhu, by the way, if you're interested. And for the rest of day 9, I just did the Eye of Cthulhu again. Well, for the entirety of day 10 and 11, I just simply worked on my house and the magic storage mod, as I was still new to this mod. Then I decided to look at my boss checklist mod, and see that I needed to do the giant Calamity boss now. So I decided to get prepared for that by making myself a new accessory and a new set of Victor armor. As soon as day 12 comes, I get the message that a toxic downpour is happening, which means there's an event going down at the Sulphurous Sea, so I headed there quickly to do that event. Then I went back to the underground desert to work on reaching the sunken sea, and I found this cool new accessory called the Luscious Gift, which lets me shoot an extra projectile out of my weapon. After reaching the sunken sea, I found the giant clam right away, so I just decided to fight it. This attacks are just simply him slamming down on the ground and spawning his low minions, where I even died to him. But I did beat it right after that though. It spawned an NPC called Medius, which sells weapons and stuff. And for the rest of day 13 and most of 14, I just mined for this new sea prism mode. And I found a sea Tridon slab, which I looted as the items would be useful later down the line. After transforming myself into a cute girl, I found Area Light Ore, which I can't mine yet as you need to beat a specific boss for it to be mineable. And after making another floor to my house, I went to an acid wood as I needed it to help me craft my new sulfurous armor. So, I went to explore a bit of the abyss with my new armor, and can anyone explain me why I take damage like this? Well anyhow, I just died to a kneel and bought this new weapon. I found this hive tumor which I didn't know what it was, so upon killing it, it gave me a nice pleasant surprise. Then I just spent the rest of the day working on an arena to fight the next boss. As soon as I got prepared, I spawned the next boss. And right after I beat it, I spawned the next boss. I managed to beat both of them on the very same day, which is pretty cool. And now I get the text that the Siren is glittering with cyan light, which means Area Light Ore can be mined now. And here are both the lore items I got from their respective bosses. Now I just worked on my elevator. Then after that, I just added even more floors to my house, cause I just can't be bothered to build anything fancy. And while I was building, slime started to fall from the sky, so I decided to kill them to fight King Slime. So that's exactly what I did. And I beat it so easily, as I was way stronger now, and I got this cute little fella. And as usual, here's the lore item. On day 19, I went to those Sky Islands again to mine the Area Light Ore. And man, mining this ore is just way more satisfying. And then with the ore I got, I made myself a wind blade which shoots these wind looking projectiles, and a new set of aerospec armor which makes me look really cool. Then I went to get glowing mushrooms to make myself this thing called Decapodita sprout. I don't know. Well, it's so that I can spawn the next boss, called Crabalon. Not a lot to say about this fight honestly, as it was pretty straightforward and easy. But it's definitely unique to have a boss in the mushroom biome, as normal Terraria doesn't have that. Well, here's a lore item. Well, the next day a goblin army was approaching, so I just did that real quick. Now I went to a dungeon to make an arena, cause I was planning to fight the Skeletron this night. And as soon as I was done making it, I just gave it a go. So the fight was going as normal, until he just decided to... yeah... I just really hate the fact that I got that close just to die like that. But hey, there's probably gonna be more of those, I guess. Well, anyhow, I just waited for nighttime on day 21 just so that I could do it again. And here is that attempt now. And thankfully it went way smoother this time. And by the way, all I did on day 21 while waiting for nighttime is just me exploring the jungle. And I tried to fight Queen Bee, which went... yeah. And as usual, here's a lore item. Also, while going through day 21 footage, I managed to find this. As soon as I beat the boss, I went to explore the dungeon right away, where I managed to find the Goblin Tinkerer, the Mechanic, and the Tavern NPC. So here's a quick time lapse of me exploring the dungeon for a while. Now I decided to make my house wider, as this is where my buildings go speak, so please don't expect it to get any better than this. I'm just lazy at building. Well, on day 23, I finally finished working on the elevator, which I decided to explore it for a while, and after getting myself a Hellforge, out of nowhere this happens. To be fair though, I actually did get almost half of his head low, which feels promising as I didn't even prepare for this boss yet, but I will come back to it in a bit. So for the meantime, I just mined a lot of hellstone ore. And once I was done with that, I decided to explore the abyss in hopes that I could get something useful, in which I managed to get this healing staff, which is a summoner weapon, and a lionfish, which is a good rogue weapon. Then I died. And when I went back, I got a depth charm, which reduces the damage caused by the pressure, and then iron boost, which makes me fall faster in liquids, and I died again. Well, now I decided to buy an Eternia crystal, so I could give the old one's army a try, because I never actually done this event before. So after making the platform, I just tried it for the first time, and after getting through waves 1, 2 and 3, I lost at wave 4. I just decided to craft the next boss spawning items, which includes this deer thing and an overloaded sludge, as there isn't a lot left in Pre-Hardmode. So once I got those, I just made a single line arena, and then I just spawned deer clops. And this boss was just painfully easy, so there just isn't anything for me to show really. So I just went back to the other boss arena I have, so I could just give the slime god a go. And I did get it pretty low, but I just kept getting hit a lot. So I just decided to make the arena longer, so I could just have a lot more room to dodge his attacks hopefully. And while I was expanding it, this enemy dropped a rotten hot dog, which spawns a spit bull puppy, which barks when rare enemies are around. And after I was done expanding it, I just gave it another go. And I did get it lower than last time, but I just felt like my issue was I just couldn't outrun it. So I decided to use Hermes boots, cause I don't know why I just wasn't using them before. But first I upgraded my boots to Spectre boots, using the Hermes boots and the Rocket boots. And I was also gonna upgrade them to the Lightning boots, which needs the Spectre boots, Aglet and the Anklet of the Wind. And as I didn't have the Anklet, I went to the jungle to get some jungle spores, because using that, Pink Gel and Cloud, you could just make the Anklet, which I forgot to mention that in Calamity, they added so many new vanilla recipes in the mod. So things you can normally never craft in regular Terraria, you can just craft them here, and they added a lot as well, which makes progression faster. So once I got the lightning boots, I felt like I can beat the slime god now, so I decided to really give it my all this time. And I finally managed to beat it this time, because getting those boosts did make all the difference in me being able to beat it. And as per the usual, here's the lore item. Beating this boss gave me these new magic weapons, which is cool, but more importantly, it dropped an item called the Electrolyte Gel Pack, which permanently increases Adrenaline mode by 15% and gives damage reduction by 5%, which is very useful. And on top of that, it also dropped Purified Gel. And once I was back home, I made a Static Refiner, which with the Purified Gel allows me to craft Stat Gel armor, which also lets you double jump. Well, I decided to upgrade my Lightning boots to Terra Spark boots, as you can just craft every item you need to make it. So once I was done with that, I wanted to try the Torch God, as I didn't even know what that was, so I tried it. And I got the Torch God's favor, which uses torches according to the biome I'm currently in. Then I went back to the underground ice biome to get some flames fur, And while exploring, I found this Rhymehound mount. And after making another floor to my house, I went underground to make another deer thing. You know, I just wanna say that in Calamity, when you make a boss spawning item, you only need to make it once, cause unlike regular Terraria, these items are non-consumable, which means you can use that one item an infinite number of times, and it will still not go away. And I didn't know that yet, so I just kept making multiple of them, and I didn't need to, but I do get to know that later on, so my bad on that. And then I did deer crops again, which I'll be honest, I don't even remember why I did this boss again, but then I did it anyways, so there's that. And now I decided to head down to hell, so I can start working on a long platform, so I can fight the wall of flesh. And I accidentally spawned him again. After heading back, I expanded the platform more, where I then spawned the boss myself this time, where I somehow got myself stuck in this gap. Well, I decided that I wanted to try the boss as a rogue, which is a new class that Calamity adds. So I wanted to get an accessory called the Filthy Glove, which would help with damage. So I did the Hytale a few more times, until I eventually got one. And then I made the rogue variant of my helmet, and I also bought a chihuahua. After buying some new rogue weapons, I decided to head back down to hell, and I accidentally spawned him again. But this time I got him really low, so I was feeling confident about beating him in my very next attempt. So cause of that, I went back to hell to spawn the boss right away, but the NPC hasn't spawned back yet, so I just decided to sleep through the night until he spawns back. And as soon as he spawns back, I went back to spawn the boss. And here's how that attempt went. And now we are officially in hard mode, which also means things are gonna get a lot worse, I guess. But then I heard this sound. That actually was a meteorite, which literally adds a whole new biome to the mod called the Astral Infection. And I won't lie, that sound effect actually kinda scared me for some reason. Well, as usual, the boss dropped 2 lore items this time, so here they are. I decided to go break the demon altars with the pawn hammer that I got, but then instead of spawning the hard mode rolls into the world like usual, it only gave me souls of night for some reason, which made me confused. But then if you noticed, when I beat the boss, the world already spawned Cobalt and Paladin mode, and when I read my hammer, it said that if I wanted to get the next tier of wars, I have to beat each mechanical boss respectively, which changes the progression up a bit, to be honest. After getting whatever this is, I decided to go mine for the new hard mode ore, and then realized I don't even have the right pickaxe to even mine it. So I quickly got one, and then I mined them. Once I made myself a Paladin pickaxe, I decided to finally explore the Astral Infection biome, and let me tell you, these enemies are definitely something. I also got this unique magic weapon, which apparently can damage both the player and the enemy on impact, which is unique. Well, after getting some acid enemies to get the drops, I went to explore the underground to see if there's anything new there, which there wasn't really, but I got this accessory called the Trinket of G, and at night time, I get this text, which basically means one of the hard mode bosses is gonna spawn now, and you already know how that went. I also finally decided to reforge my accessories, so I can finally have more defense now. Then I also crafted a demon count, which I only found out about its existence right now, to be honest. I decided to explore the Sulphurous Sea again to try to get deeper into it, and you wanna know why? Well, all this time I was using the unofficial wiki of the mod, which I didn't know, and it has some outdated stuff on it. So while reading through the progression of the mod, I noticed this line of text. Noxus eclipses will start occurring if the player doesn't visit the underworld or the fourth layer of the abyss, which results in the player's world getting permanently deleted. And I of course believed it for some reason, as it doesn't even exist, and I was even panicking for no reason as well. So just use the official wiki if you're gonna play this mod. I'll link it down below anyways. Well, I went back down to hell to open some shallow chests, and I eventually reached this new biome that the mod added, called the Brimstone Crag, which has these really pretty flowers. And one of the enemies from here dropped these new pair of wings, so I can finally fly now. I decided to carry on working for Paladimor. And while exploring, I ran into this mini boss called the Earth Elemental, which when defeated drops the Earthen Pike, and I also found a wizard here, before dying yet again. I went back to the Sunken Sea, cause you might have also noticed this line of text when I beat the boss, which basically means all the enemies in the Sunken Sea are all buff now, and can also drop new items as well. So I went for a giant clam right away, and he really threw me off guard with those new attacks, to be honest. Once it hit night time, I decided to see what this altar does by giving it a Titan heart, and I definitely wasn't prepared for this. I actually came up with this idea to just put a bed underwater, so when I die, I could just spawn right back here. And then I just worked on a small arena, where I also found this sword dropped by one of the enemies, which is kinda slow in my opinion. And once I finished the arena, I just gave it another go. And this is when I realized that even though I died, the boss doesn't despawn because it's technically just a mini boss. So dying wasn't even a problem as I kept my spawn point down here. So I was able to cheese this boss really easily, and I even did it again for more loot. I upgraded my storage system once I was back home, and I also noticed that I got this new clam weapon as well. And from the drops, I made myself a modest armor, which makes me run slower, but I do have these little clams following me around, so it's worth it alone for that. I also crafted a mechanical eye, so I can start making more progress towards the bosses, and I even worked on an arena in the sky now. Then I made myself a new rogue weapon called the Crystalline, which also can be upgraded into a weapon called the Prismaline, which makes 5 copies of itself, and some of them even homes into enemies as well. I decided to do the Desert Scourge a few more times, as I wanted a weapon from me called the Scourge of the Desert, which can then be upgraded into a Wave Skipper. And then I just slept in night time so I could try the twins, and for my first attempt, I did get it close, but it was kinda hard to outrun it cause of my armor slowing me down. Then I just tried it again the very next night. And it went way smoothly this time as well, and I can even mine Mithril and Orichalcum more now. Well, you know the drill at this point. I worked on an arena in the Sulphurous Sea so that I could try the Aquatic Scourge, which I didn't make much progress in. So I just decided to start working on NPC houses so I could set up pylons. And I tried the boss again on the very next day, where I did even worse. After I got the snow pylon, I just cleared some of the corruption that's spreading with a contaminator, and then I just worked on more NPC houses. And once I was done with that, I went to mine for some Orichalcum and Mithril ore to get the Sandwheel and stuff. While I was buying the remaining pylons, I noticed that the wizard sells the Rod of Discord, so there's something else I don't need to grind for. I decided to work for a cryo key, so that I could spawn the next boss called Cryogen. So after I got everything needed to craft one, I just tried spawning it to see how it's like. One thing I realized about this boss is that if you want to damage it, you gotta break your shield, and then you only get 12 seconds to do actual damage before it regenerates his shield back up. So yeah. actually didn't expect to beat this boss first try, as I tried it just to see how it's like. Well, beating this boss dropped this NPC called the Archmage, who sells weapons and other items. And Cryonic Ore is now in this new biome, although you need an adamantite or titanium pickaxe to even mine it. The boss gave me these new wings which drops icicles for flying, which is cool. I went underground in the snow biome to try to find some cryonic ore, as I didn't know I could mine the ore yet. And then I noticed Papyrus from Undertale, but he despawned so quickly, so I couldn't even find him. I went to the Harlow underground to get some crystal shards, and I got a gelatin crystal from it, which spawns green slime, so I decided to do it right away. And I will play this smoothly, so here's a lore item. Now I decided to fight some horror mimics, so I could get a weapon from it called the Daedalus Stormbow, which is really good against the destroyer. But while grinding for that, the mimic dropped this new melee weapon called the Celestial Claymore, which spawns these stars that explodes upon impact. Once I was home, I crafted myself plenty of holy arrows, as I was planning to use the new bow and arrow to beat the destroyer. So once I got all that, I decided to give it a shot. And I must say, this boss moves differently from how I remember, and it feels like it targets you more directly now, so his AI has definitely been changed. And then I died after getting it halfway low. So before I try the boss again, I decided to spend the daytime getting life fruits, but I managed to get up to 500 HP as well. And I also beat Queen Bee while exploring, so there's that. But I'll show a lore item once I beat the destroyer. So once I was done with that, I decided to just try the destroyer again. And I somehow just barely beat it, which is just insane to me. But I probably could have avoided that death if I just used the Rod of Discord, but I completely forgot about it. Plus it made the ending cooler anyways, so I think it was worth it just alone for that. Well, here are both the lore items. Well, beating that boss spawned adamantite and titanium ore into this world now, so I went to mine for them right away, so I can make titanium forge, which is needed to make the titanium pickaxe. And now that I got the pickaxe, I can finally mine cryonic ore now, so I just spent the entire day mining for them. And I even found an ice trade on slab, where I found this arctic diving gear, which will be useful later on for the abyss. Once I was done with that, I made cryonic ingots, which with the essence of helium allows me to craft Daedalus armor and starlight wings. Then I made a mechanical skull to fight the skeleton prime tonight, but a blood moon came right after that, and like it really took 49 days for me to get my first blood moon, by the way, so I just ended up fighting the enemies all night. Well, for day 50, I decided to try the old one's armor yet again while waiting for nighttime to do skeleton prime, but I lost right when I beat wave 5. But I hit nighttime at least, so I finally spawned skeleton prime now. and I beat it on my first try. Now that all 3 of the mechanical bosses are defeated, you can in hollow or in the underground hollow now. On day 51, I actually managed to get a solar eclipse to happen, so I just spent half the day just killing enemies, and I even got a death sickle from it. As nighttime came around, I decided to try the Aqua search again with a death sickle this time, but I still died eventually. Well, after that I got the idea of dying the boss with a Daedalus Tombow this time, so here's how that attempt went. And just using that bow made all the difference in me being able to finally beat it, and even way better as well. But despite dying plenty of times to it, I still like this boss because it just felt fun to do it. Well, here's a lore item of the boss now. Beating this boss started the second tier of the acid rain, as this event has different tiers with new enemies and items as well, so I just worked on beating this event again. Well, I wanted to make a char idol to spawn the next boss called the Brimstone Elemento, so I went to the Brimstone Crack to get the bit I was missing. And then I went back home and crafted it. And then I went back to the Brimstone Crack to make a quick arena, and then I just spawned the Brimstone Elemento. Well, by the time I got Adrenaline, the fight was over already, as I depleted her health so fast, but it was a cool boss nonetheless. And she dropped 2 lore items as well, so here they are. I'm like basically focused on getting as much bosses done as I could now, so I decided to make the Eye of Desolation so I could fight the next boss called the Calamitous Clone. But I sadly died to it at the very last attack, so that one kinda hurt. Well, now I had to wait till night time, cause I could only do the Calamitous Clone at night now. So I just did another acid rain, cause I didn't really know what else to do. But right after that I tried the Calamitous Clone again, but this time I make sure to give it my all. So this boss has 5 phases, where the first phase Calamity shoots these fireballs at you, the second phase which is a bullet hell, the third phase where these nerve version of the twins spawn, the fourth phase where Calamity starts dashing towards you, and the fifth phase which is an even harder bullet hell. And I managed to beat it, but honestly this boss was really cool to me, and even the music which just was so epic. And overall this boss was just really fun to play through. Well, here's a lore item as usual. So I made an evasion scarf, as I didn't even know there was a scarf accessory until now, and it's supposed to be better than the shield of Cthulhu, so I got that. And I also made a porta bulb, as it lets you spawn Plantera wherever you want, instead of having to find the flower in the jungle. I went underground in the jungle to make an arena, so I could try Plantera soon, and as soon as I was done making it, I gave it a go, but I just ended up getting absolutely destroyed. So I just expanded the arena more, and then just tried again. And again. And again. And yet again. But I finally beat it after trying a few times. But yeah, this boss was just kinda hard at the end for me. So while I was at the desert just killing enemies, I saw this butterfly, so I killed it, and yeah. That was actually my first time ever fighting the Empress of Light, as I never fought her before I went live. And then I went to the jungle underground to find some brand new ore called Perennial ore, as it's a new ore that spawns after beating Plantera, so I got some ore just from killing the enemies for now. I went to the ocean to try out the next boss called Anahida, and I just kept dying to her again and again. But I did eventually reach the next phase where if I had Levantin, was way more health, but you gotta fight both Anahida and Levantin at the same time once Levantin's health was half low, which made this fight way harder than it already is. And I would just keep dying around that point, but each attempt I do feel like I'm getting closer, but it wasn't enough, so I went mining for more Perennial ore. Oh, and I also got a pirate invasion, so I quickly got done with that as well. Using the Perennial bars and living shards which I got from Plantera, I made myself Reaver armor, which is a unique armor set, as it doesn't boost your damage of the class, but instead the helmet I got gives way more defense and HP, but at the cost of doing 30% less damage, but it could help me survive better, so I just gave it another shot after that. After that aggravating that, I made myself new wings, a necklace of vexation to do acid damage, and a new weapon called the Mangrove Chakram. And then I gave it another attempt, and then my power died, which made everything laggy, so I just decided to restart it. So after many attempts of trying, I finally got this run. went well this time, even though this took me several tries. But I'm just glad I got this over with. Well, for day 62 and half of 63, I just worked on making an Ankh shield by getting all the ingredients needed to make one. And with the Ankh shield, Ornate shield, Shield of the Ocean and a Core of Calamity, I made the Aska's Valor, which is basically an even better version of the scarf I got. Now I decided to look for a temple to do the golem, and look how long I took to even find one. I sped the footage up by a lot, but I think I explored a good portion of the jungle now, and it took almost 2 entire days just to find it. So I just made a quick arena and just went for it. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, as the arena got bigger, but it was still pretty manageable overall. Now that I've beaten the golem, I made an astral chunk to do the next boss called Astral Warrior. And I beat this boss in my first try, although he feels kinda easy compared to the other bosses I had to put up with, but I guess it's relieving considering how much harder the next bosses would be, but yeah. Well, beating this boss made all the enemies in the astral biome buff now, so there's that I guess. But I also got this accessory where you can basically do a ground pound, which I found it pretty cool. And I also got this big cookie. Now I just did King Slime plenty of times, as I wanted a crown jewel accessory from it, but it never ended up dropping one unfortunately. Well, once it became nighttime, I just did the Frost Mode event the whole night, just to see if there was anything different because of the mod, but there wasn't. So I found out in the wiki that I can make this new permanent health upgrade called the Blood Orange, which increases my max health by 25 and also changes up the color of my health bar. I decided to do the Solar Eclipse again, as if you beat up Plantera or the Calamity's clone, the enemies can now drop this new item called the Solar Veil, which is then used to make Umbra Fire armor, which is for the Rogue class, and I also got 2 new Rogue weapons as well. So in the Abyss I got some Depth Cells and Luminite, and I was able to mine this ore called the Scoria ore, which needs at least a Pixar to mine with. And when going down the Abyss again, I randomly get this pop-up for some reason, and I got no idea how or why he spawned, but I'm probably just grateful for the fact that I don't need to deal with that thing again. But I went back home again so that I could craft the Abyssal diving gear, which is the upgrade to the Arctic diving gear, and then I tried to go as deep as I could in the Abyss before dying again. Now using the Scoria bars and the Core of Havoc, I made Hydrothermic armor, which means I didn't even use the Umbra Fire armor for more than a day, but oh well. I found out I could make the next health upgrade with the Miracle Fruit, which also increases my HP by 25. And then I went to the dungeon to get this new rogue weapon, and I got this cute little wisp as well. For day 70 I decided to give Duke Fishron a try, but I just struggled with his last phase again and again. So I just decided to work on this machine called the Code Breaker, as it can let you decrypt schematics, and it lets you unlock new items and stuff. So I went to space to get the planetoid schematic, as that's all I could decrypt for now. And cause another solar eclipse occurred, I just started the Martian Madness event just to cross it off. And when I tried Duke Fishron again, I accidentally spawned two of them at once without even realizing until we split up, because apparently they were in sync up until that point. I went to explore the jungle again now, as when I beat the golem, I noticed this new line of text talking about some plague. So I went down and this acid looking bee attacked me out of nowhere, but I did kill it, and I dropped some canisters which will be useful later. And after dying to Duke Fishra more, I used the canisters to make an epidemic shredder and an abomination, which is used to spawn the plague bringer Goliath, and I spawned it just to see how it's like. And every time I would get hit from the boss, I would get the plague debuff, which depletes my health even more. But for now I made the Soul Harvester, which is a direct upgrade to the Red Sickle, and I always liked the Red Sickle anyways, so I'm just simply using this now. I decided to try the boss again with the Soul Harvester, just to see how well it is, and while trying it out, I got hopes on beating this boss, even if I barely made any progress. I made this new accessory called the Alchemical Flask, as using it literally makes me immune to the plague, and all my attacks now do plague damage. Now I was working on an arena in the jungle, where I let my intrusive thoughts win, and then I accidentally started another Martian Madness event, so I had to finish that event again. And as soon as I did, I just gave the boss another shot. Getting the one accessory literally changed the whole outcome of the fight, which I didn't expect, but I'm glad I managed to beat it. So now I made the Death Whistle, so I could try the Ravager now. I wasn't expecting me to beat this on my first try, but hey, I'll take it. So here are their lore items respectively. I got this very unique accessory where my HP gets literally doubled, but at the cost of taking critical damage 25% of the time. But then healing potions also heal me 50% more, so I wasn't sure how well this accessory would work, but then I had to try because having double HP just feels cool to have. So I decided to test out this accessory by trying Duke Fishron again. Well, that 25% critical damage is worse than I thought. But this accessory has potential, even if it feels risky to use. I could see this working out, so I just kept trying. And I somehow beat it this time, as I kept having so much trouble with this last phase, but it worked out at the end. All I did for nighttime is try out Astrum DS to see if I could beat it, and it was going well until it split itself in two, and then it became a 2v1. Now I upgraded the Terraspark boost to the Angel Threads, and I also made the next part of the Core Breaker, because I wanted to make progress towards finishing this machine. So I got these seeking thingies, which can detect the labs I needed, so I powered them up and went to the respective biomes to find the schematics. It was now I realized that I got a Mora summon from the lab in hell, but I can't use it until I beat a boss called Yaren or Yaron, I don't know. So now I decided to try the Orban's army yet again, because I never beat it in before, so I didn't actually know how many waves there are in total. But I didn't really make any new progress anyways. So cause of that I thought I might have some luck beating the Empress of Light, but nope. Then I just used the Ravager again, because I wanted an accessory from it called the Fresh Totem, as it says you can halve the contact damage from enemies. So after almost dying to the boss this attempt, I got it in my first try. Then I expanded the arena in the Astral biome, and got this new weapon to help me fight the Empress of Light. So I just spawned her at daytime. Obviously that didn't go well, because I didn't even know there was a daytime version of the Empress while recording this. So I decided to sleep till nighttime, as I can't do any other bosses till then. So once it hit nighttime, I gave Astrum Base another go. And this new weapon I got literally cooked them, so I ended up having a better time because of it. Beating this boss is me finding my Astral Lord now, so cause of that I wanted to make Astral armor using the Astral boss, but I also need a Meteorite boss which I didn't have, so I spent the entire day looking for a Meteorite. And I even checked the Sky Islands and the Living Trees, but I just couldn't find one anywhere. And I even did the Eater of Worlds again, in hopes that beating you would spawn another one, where the text saying it spawned and stuff, but nothing ever happened. So I just decided to give up and just make a new world, just so that I can get Meteorite. And I beat the boss here and just slept till night time, and it actually spawned this time. So I got as much Meteorite ore as I could and just went back to my main world. So after mining the Aster ore, I just tried a Lunar Cultist to see how that goes. And to be fair, I got it halfway low, and I felt pretty confident about beating it, so I just tried again right after that. Honestly, that fight felt chaotic to me, as it felt like there were so many things on the screen and all, so I'm glad I got it over with quickly. I finally made the Astral Armor and the Radiant Star, which I then used it to do the Solar Pillar, Stardust Pillar, Vortex Pillar, and the Nebula Pillar, which once I was done with them all, it's time to face the Moonlord now. I bet you thought I was gonna beat it in my first try, which I wish I did, but I just tried again after making the Celeste sigil. Now we are officially in Post-Moonlord now, which means we are in the final stage of the mod, and this is where the mod will ramp up in difficulty way more as well. So I hope I got this, cause I don't know how bad this is gonna get. So a lot of new text popped up for beating this boss, and these include the Profane Flame Blazes fiercely, which means they are new enemies now, and the Cosmic Terrors are watching, meaning they're new bosses, and sheiks are echoing from the dungeon, so the dungeon got buffed again, and a cold and dark energy has materialized in space, meaning now you can mine Luminite ore in space now. So the first thing I literally did after meeting Moonlord is doing the Empress Ally, as it would be easier now. So here's how that went. I found out I got this item in my inventory from beating Moonlord for the Celestial Onion, which increases my accessory slot again. Now with the Nebula pickaxe, I went to space and mined this thing called Exodium Cluster, which was covering the Luminite ore inside it. So I mined all of it, and using the Luminite bars and something called a Mel Construct, I made Inferium Armor, which is basically the Post-Moonlord version of a rogue armor set. I went to the horror biome because I wanted to get Unholy Essence, which you get from the new enemies. So you do the first Post-Moonlord boss called the Profane Guardians. So once I got enough, I made the spawning item, but I had to wait until late time to spawn it. So I kept killing enemies in that desert until I got these pop-ups, which I didn't know what it was. And then this mini boss spawned, which was pretty easy, but I wasn't expecting that. Well, as soon as daytime came, I finally spawned the Profane Guardians. I really wasn't expecting to beat the first Post-Moonlord boss in my first try like that, but I felt like I was somewhat lucky because I felt like I had way too many close calls, but I somehow pulled it off. Beating this boss gave me the next boss spawning item called the Profane Core. It spawns the Providence. So I tried it and I made decent progress until whatever this attack killed me. So I just decided to make another boss spawning item so I could try another boss instead called Dragonfall. I decided to go back to the jungle to do the golem again. As you see, when I died to the Providence, I thought the debuff I got was called the Holy Flame, and that's what killed me. So I thought of getting the Sunstone accessory, as it gives you immunity to the debuff. But then it turns out I was wrong, and the debuff I actually had was called the Holy Inferno, which you only get if you go too far from the boss, and that's why I died. So that was dumb of me. I also spawned the Providence at night, just to find out there's a harder version of the Providence for doing it at night, so that attempt didn't go far. But I did try it again, only to do worse. But as soon as I learned how the one attack worked, well, you can guess how it went. Beating this boss gave you the next boss spawning item, called the Rune of Course. But this one is a bit unique, because you can spawn 3 different bosses depending on where you use it. So I decided to go to a dungeon first, as that's where you can spawn one of the bosses called the Ceaseless Void. So I decided to try it, and I didn't make an arena, so obviously I got no space to dodge any of his attacks. But then I got this idea of spawning the boss in the dungeon and then going outside as fast as possible, because I was lazy to make an arena, to be honest. And I almost beat it, but I just barely couldn't. So I went underground in the jungle again, because when I beat Providence, a new ore was generated into the world called Uni-Bloom ore. So I went to mine all of that, so you can make 3/4 of the Tarragon armor using the bars and divine geodes, which is something you get from the Providence. And I had to do the Providence again just to get enough divine geodes to make the last piece of the armor set. And I even made the next piece of the Fall Breaker and decrypted the next schematic. And then I decided to try the boss again, where I died at the very end again. But right after that, I finally managed to pull this off. Well, we are finally in day 90 now, so as there's only 10 more days left, I want to make the absolute most out of it, with my goal being to beat the Devourer of Gods before day 101, as it is known to be one of the more harder bosses by the community. Well, now I use a Rune of Course in space to spawn the next boss called the Stormweaver. and I even went to hell to spawn the third boss called Sickness, but I didn't have much room to work with, so I couldn't beat it yet. But now I got enough materials to make the Elden Berry now, which is a 3 out of the 4 new health upgrades. And I even make a new weapon to use for the boss. And now I just expanded the arena for more space and just try the boss again. Well, that's all 3 of the bosses done now. The thing is though, is the fact that killing each one of these bosses dropped 1 item that's necessary to craft the Cosmic World, which is the spawner for the Devourer of Gods. But I decided to make it later as there's still other things to do. So I was checking the boss checklist mod again to see what other boss I needed to do next, and saw that I had to do Poltergeist. So I headed to the dungeon to farm for the items here to spawn it, but I didn't have much luck finding the drops I was looking for, so I just decided to head back home for now and upgrade my storage system, as it's basically full now. And then I went right back to the dungeon to try again to get the drops, but this time using a Zerg potion, as it increases the enemy spawn rate, so it should technically speed up the process. But while farming for the enemies, I get these 2 messages which I wasn't sure on what it was, but I honestly just ignored it, which I probably shouldn't have, as after a while this happened. So I kinda regret ignoring those messages, or else I probably could have done something to prepare for that. But oh well, I guess. Well, anyways, I got enough materials I needed to make the item that spawns the boss instead. So I tried that trick again where I could spawn the boss in the dungeon and then get outside as fast as possible, like how I did with the Caesar's Void. But the boss just stops going after me for doing that, so I had no choice but to make an arena in the dungeon now, which took like the rest of the day. But once I got to finish it, here's what happened. This boss gave me the final adrenaline upgrade called the Ecto Heart, and I also got Poltergeist. Well, now I decide to try the Ravager again, as beating the Providence buffed the Ravager and the Brimstone Cry, meaning the boss and the enemies in the biome will start dropping Redstone, which I got and then used it to make the Bloodfire armor set. Now I went to the Sulphurous Sea again, because as I beat Poltergeist, the Acer is on the 3rd and final stage now, so I decided to check that out, and there was even a new mini boss there, but this boss spawns way too frequently in my opinion, and I even died so many times. And I couldn't even finish the event because it hit night time, so it just felt like a huge waste of time. Well, I wanted to try the next boss, So I went back to the Sulphurous Sea to catch these flying bloodworms, which I did catch after some time. Then I spawned the old dude, where I died extremely fast, and I tried again and again, but it just keeps dashing at me perfectly, and I barely made any progress towards its health. And I even tried it with a new weapon, but it still did nothing. So I just decided to go down the abyss, because there's a mini boss called the Reaper Shark that would drop a weapon for me, but every time I tried to go down there, I would spawn this boss. And while recording, I had no idea why it kept spawning, but I did find out later that I was spawning because I kept using the Rod of Discord. I also made another new weapon to try the old Duke with, and I did plant Terra again to get some living shards. Because using it, I made a new accessory called the Living Duke, which increases my HP and regeneration. And I also upgraded my Angel Trace to Celestial Traces, as it basically combines my boots and wings together, so I get a free accessory slot like that. Now with all this, I decided to try the boss again, and I still died. And after trying yet again, I had an attempt where I died like this. And at that point, I just honestly gave up. As I couldn't make any progress in the old loop, I just made the Cosmic Worm now, cause I wanted to at least beat one more boss before the video ends. So with that, I'm finally gonna face the Devourer of Gods now. And this is where I ran into my first major problem with this boss, which being lag, because I haven't had any lag problems up until this point, and every time I get to this laser attack, it gets so laggy that it just gets hard to avoid the attack, and it doesn't make it any easier knowing that the boss can just kill me in just a few hits. So I decided to upgrade my Abyssal Diving Gear to the Abyssal Diving Sword, which will help me reach the very bottom of the abyss. So I did just that. I went to fight the Reaper Shark right away to get the weapon I was looking for, and I finally got it this time, along with the Sea Dumbbell. And another enemy dropped this grappling hook, which pushed me really fast, which could come in handy for the boss. Then I went back home to expand the arena in the sky, so I can have a lot more room to work with, and then I just tried the boss again. And the lag only got worse. So I found out online that you can turn off frame skip in the options menu, where instead of my game getting so choppy, it would just slow down my game instead, which kinda made it better I guess, but it still felt somewhat hard to move and it did get slow, but better than nothing I guess. And I managed to get into a next phase this attempt, but the laser attacks got even worse and made my game so slow. But despite that, I still got it down pretty low before dying this time, which made me have hopes in beating it. So I kept trying again and again and again, and every single time I respawned, I would just try again right away without doing anything else, because I knew I was starting to run out of time, so I had to make every single second count. And I even downloaded a lag remover mod, hoping that could somehow fix my lag issues, and I even made a Dific amulet and then went back to the boss. And I was honestly starting to lose hopes in beating it, as I was getting very low on time. But while I was buying potions, I noticed there's one potion I never tried before, called the Perfect Discord potion, where I can set a hotkey and just teleport, instead of having to swap to my Rod of Discord. But while trying the boss, I realized that this potion lets me teleport again before the chaos suffering goes away, for the cost of some HP. But that means if I just saved enough HP for the laser attacks, I can just teleport away from them, saving me from death, which is huge. And this attempt somehow ended up being my best one yet, which made me really hopeful again. And attempt after attempt after attempt, I just simply couldn't get back to that point again. So I wasn't even sure if I could even beat this boss in time anymore. As after all, it's day 100 now, and I'm extremely low on time as it's night time, so I didn't really know what to do anymore, as I basically only have time for one last attempt now. So I genuinely felt defeated this time, as after this day, it's actually over. But I didn't want to give up just yet. After all, I did come this far within these 100 days. Boss after boss after boss after boss. I done them all. I beat them all. So why stop now, right? I mean, I do still have one last shot at this. So maybe, just maybe, I could pull a miracle. So, in a last-ditch effort, I made this new weapon called a Wave Pounder, just hoping that this would somehow turn the tables around. So with that, let's just do this. Well, this is it. This is my last and final chance to beat the Devourer of Gods now. I come a long way making this video, so if you enjoy this, I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It really means a lot. But without further ado, let's end this, shall we? And I actually did it, with barely a minute left in the clock. I just genuinely had no hopes in beating it, but it just worked out in the end after all. Well, that's the end of the 100 days now. This video was really hard to make as everything you saw in this video I had to learn from scratch as I don't have a lot of editing experience, and this being the first video on my channel, it took a lot of months because of that. So if you like what you saw, it would mean a lot to me if you could like and subscribe. I plan to make a lot more stuff in the future too. So once again, thanks a lot for watching.